Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparuta de sangamatasa tawara ye sodavanta bamundantu satang. This afternoon, the opportunity again arises to reflect on the way it is. And this is an important kind of opportunity because the way it is, as we generally assume, is very worldly. We think of the news of the day, the political situation, the family problems, and we think that's the way it is, a kind of resignation to conditioned phenomena. But that's not what I'm pointing at. I'm not pointing to the way it is as a worldly experience, but as Dhamma. Because whatever your experience might be, your mental state, your emotional state at this moment, to see, well, that's the way it is still the ego operating from the sense of a kind of, well, it's just karma, or it's my karma, or I just have to get on with life. And when tragedy happens and disappointments arise in our lives, we can just say, well, that's the way it is. And that's not what I mean when I'm using these words, that's the way it is. Because this is a reflection on the Dharma aspect of whatever you're thinking and experiencing intellectually, emotionally, physically, is all conditions are impermanent. Sape sankhara anicca. So this is different because it's non-grasping. It's not grasping a kind of idea, well, it's my karma or my problem, or blaming someone else for the situation you're experiencing. It's realizing whatever you're experiencing, whether it's blaming somebody else, blaming yourself, blaming the political system, that the blame itself is impermanent. The experience is what it is. Some are pleasant, some are unpleasant. But the way it is that what their quality might be, whether good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, that they are impermanent. This is very important to keep assuring yourself of the impermanency of the world that we tend to have been told is the real world. So this Sape sankhara anicca is a wisdom. It's not just Buddhist ideas. It's not Buddhist philosophy. It's actually a wisdom teaching that is to be reflected upon again and again till the penny drops. Do you really understand all conditions, physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, are very nature impermanent there, and they're sape dhammanada, they're not a person, a real person. Dhamma is not a person. Even the Dhammas of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, brain, they're still not personal. They're empty phenomena. And we keep reminding ourselves that we have this reflecting upon it again and again till it actually registers. Suddenly you're not just, it's no longer a technique that you've been advised to use or believe in, but it actually, you realize it, you know it. Not because of believing or grasping, but because wisdom is guiding you rather than the conditioning, social, conventional, religious conditioning that you received in your life. So how much effort does it take to do this? So we've been given advice that we must put a lot of effort into our practice and get samadhi, really get concentrated. We've been given all kinds of advice on meditation, what is essential at the beginning. So like with anapanasati as a beginning technique, mindfulness of the breath, from my own experience, I was told my first endeavor at mindfulness of breath was to watch the rise and fall of my stomach. It's called the Mahasi Sayadaw tradition, a Burmese tradition. So I put a lot of effort in to concentrate on the rise and fall of my stomach. And sometimes I'd get very concentrated, and other times things would interfere. I'd have some kind of emotional upheaval in my mind, which I couldn't concentrate on the rise and fall anymore. And so then this was, like I've mentioned many times, bad meditation versus good meditation. Because the conditions are not always convenient or available for a good meditation, or what we call, quote, a good meditation. So then, exploring, investigating effort, what's right effort in the Eightfold Path? And this is, what do you mean by right effort? How much effort is right effort? So you try to figure it out, right effort. And is it the beginning period, or is it samadhi? Is it jhana? And we start thinking about it. Right effort is something we want to get because it's part of the Eightfold Path, Fourth Noble Truth. So right effort still sounds like a lot of effort, a really refined, special kind of refined effort that we apply to our what we call meditation or bhavana. So right effort always, at least in my karmic experience, always meant very refined effort that takes quite a while to develop. Right effort is something you have to develop through concentration practices. So that's just how my mind works. My intellect is based on course and refinement and good and bad, heaven and hell, God and the devil. So, and then right effort sounds, interpreted in the final Eightfold Path series. It must be really refined, very special. It takes ages to get refined effort. So those are the thinking habits that I had towards the subject of right effort. Then, as I've said before, so in my beginning years as a monk, I put forth a lot of effort. I was very, I just wanted to live in a nice kuti, in a quiet place where I could apply a lot of effort to samadhi, concentration. And then I feel frustrated when the conditions changed and they didn't go the way I wanted. Noise, or I remember in Thailand when radios became common amongst the villagers, and they put radios on the water buffaloes that plow the rice fields, and you'd hear all this kind of Thai pop music, which I'd just develop aversion to it, because Wat Pa Nanachat was surrounded by rice fields, so was Wat Pa Po. So you feel aversion to the rice farmers, the water buffaloes, the radio, because they're disrupting my samadhi, my concentration. So exploring effort, I began when I asked Luang Por Cha one time about meditation. I've referred to this many times before. When I said, how would you define meditation? And he said, holiday of the heart. And Pakporn Tang Jit Jai in Thai. Pakporn is like a rest, relax, holiday of the heart. So then I thought, I don't see meditation as any holiday of the heart. I see it as hard work, and I have to develop this and develop that, and it's a lot of effort to really get anywhere and get all the right levels of concentration. Well, holiday of the heart, which I translate, which is in Thai is Pakporn Tang Jitja, I translated as holiday of the heart. I thought, well, that made an impression because it's coming from a wise monk, a teacher that I highly regarded and respected. So I began to investigate right efforts, and I could see how meditation was hard work because I put so much effort into it, trying to hold my attention. First it was with the Mahasi method, the rise and fall of the stomach, and then with Luang Por it was at the tip of the nose. So noticing the sensation at the tip of the nose. So I put a lot of effort in trying to sustain an inhalation at the tip of the nose and exhaling at the tip of the nose, and just that whole idea of tip of the nose or the rise and fall of the belly, how does that affect you? Can you really concentrate on the tip of your nose for one inhalation? Or then I began to realize on the inhalation it was fairly easy to sustain effort. But on the exhalation I noticed my mind always wandered. That my mind would wander always on exhaling. And I could see that this is because the inhalation is it's the inspiring side of life. Inhalation is inspiring. It rises up. And then it reaches a peak where you can't inhale anymore and you can only exhale. And that's the other side of life, the unpleasant side, old age, sickness, death, loss of loved ones. All that we don't want, the boredom, the disillusionment, the doubt, the worry that we produce in our minds. That life itself, when you're young, is inspiring. For most people, youth has a kind of hope, an expectation, an inspiration. And then as you get older and you have more experience with life, then there's more despair, depression, disillusionment, boredom, things that used to interest you or excite you or fascinate you suddenly become boring, no longer find them interesting or exciting. So to have a holiday of the heart isn't about trying to be inspired through an exhalation or just to seek inspiration as your refuge, because inspiration is impermanent. Worldly inspiration is impermanent, as well as expiration. Disillusionment, despair, doubt, worry, they're impermanent. So they all share, whether it's inspiring or depressing, they all share the same reality of impermanence and not self. So it's explained very well in the Buddhist teaching that all conditions are impermanent, all Dhammas are not personal. So don't take life personally. So then, to have a holiday, when you put a lot of effort into something, you need a lot of effort. When you lift a heavy object onto a table or a lorry, you can't just relax when you're lifting a log onto a lorry, you have to put a lot of effort, strength into your body to lift a heavy log up to get it on the back of a lorry. Well, that's right for the situation, because Pakpon Thang Jittai, or holiday of the heart, is not appropriate for that experience. But that experience itself is impermanent. So then, the way we become obsessed with meditation, we've got to meditate. I remember just watching my mind saying, I'm wasting my time, I've got to meditate. And so I began just watching that, about the guilt about wasting time, what I would call wasting time. And to just reflect on who is wasting time, what is wasting time about? Having a cup of tea in the afternoon, or going to a movie, or having a holiday, wasting time when you should be involved in trying to get your samadhi, trying to get something that you imagine. So listening to my mind, this is what I recommend, this listening to the ego. No matter what it says, good or bad, nonsense, intelligence, being reasonable or unreasonable, it's all empty phenomena. It arises and ceases, and it's not self. So that insight into the way it is that some right effort is relaxing. Because that, to relax is a holiday. We go on holidays to relax. Go to the seaside to relax. So relax is another word that we can think of as we become obsessed with relaxing. So that's where it's important to listen to your mind, the way you receive even wisdom teachings, like relax, let go. These are wisdom teachings, but then we interpret it as in a very personal way. I've got to relax, I've got to let go. Well, that's because of the conditioning, the thinking, way we've been conditioned to think in a very personal way, that relaxing is something I've got to develop, relaxation or letting go. But when you listen to your ego, this I've got to relax, I've got to learn how to relax, is words. It's just empty phenomena that you're taking very personally. Who has to relax? And then when I think of it in personal terms, I have to relax. I'm too tense. I'm too obsessed. Or I've got to let go of everything. And then when I see attachments, I think I should let go of everything. I'm attached to this, and I shouldn't be. We feel guilty because attachment is the cause of suffering. So we can explain it in Dhamma terms. But the important message in this reflection is to be the watcher, not the person relaxing or trying to relax. But then there's the word being, just being, here and now. Well, that's really good advice. Just being, just be, that's state of, you don't have to be anybody or do anything, just be here and now. Because whatever we're doing, we're always here. Whatever place you're in, you're always here. And the time is always now, whatever time the clock may provide. So be here and now is wisdom, but when we take it personally, I've got to be here and now. And we listen to that. Just listen to all the things you've got to do to be a good meditator. Just listen and watch these words arise and cease. Because I noticed that so much of my tension in early years of meditation was the compulsiveness of it. I put a lot of effort into meditating, and it became a compulsion. So then, so this is what we call reflecting, not judging or trying to figure it out intellectually. It's not an intellectual process. It's just being here and now. The state of being relaxed here is like this. And then notice, even if your body isn't relaxed or there's all kinds of tension, and just the attitude of letting go. Just accepting the tension, not trying to get rid of it or what you think, being tense or obsessed, you shouldn't be obsessed. As long as you feel you shouldn't get obsessed with things, that's another sense of a self. It's me, Ajahn Sumedho, I shouldn't be obsessed by anything. It's true. This is where Luang Por Sumedho would always say, true but not right, right but not true. I shouldn't be obsessed by worldly conditions. But rather than trying to not be obsessed as a person, trying to let go and relax as a personal effort doesn't work. It's good advice, it's true but not right, right but not true, but just this sense of open attention, being here and now, relaxed. And then you can be aware of the tensions in your body that compel you to do things, that you've got to get something, do something, go somewhere. All these kind of compulsive messages we get through the body. And we're the witness, the Bhutto, the witness of this, rather than the judge. It's not, but as soon as I start judging it as right or wrong, then I'm back into samsara. I'm Ajahn Sumedho passing judgment on something, on some condition, rather than recognizing it's apparent here and now. It is like this at this time, but it changes. Nothing stays permanently bad or good. So then my insight into the Eightfold Path, right effort, is actually no effort. It's effortless. It's natural. It's not created by me as a person, me as a Buddhist monk, through using all kinds of meditation techniques I've been introduced to. It is a holiday of the heart. So then life becomes much more pleasant. Monastic life is a very pleasant way to live. You know, there's a special opportunity that we have that most of us who weren't born into Buddhist families never expected or thought would happen. It never was an option in our lives. So then if I say, just relax, right effort is no effort, then you can, the ego says, well, you don't have to do anything anymore. Listen to that, you know, relaxing, letting go, and the ego will jump onto that, saying, I don't have to meditate, I don't have to let go of anything, I just relax and be here and now. It sounds, the ego knows all the words, but listen to that ego, it arises and ceases. Right effort is relaxation, no effort, then those are words, English words. And we listen to the words without judging them as good advice or bad advice, but just witnessing they arise and cease. And through just being the Buddho rather than the person, the physical person, a man or woman, a monk or a nun or a lay person, these are all adopted identities. But when we become a senior monk, you know, then just that word being senior. I'm now an Ajahn. We call a 10 Vasa monk an Ajahn, and a Siladhar become Ajahns after 10 Pansas, and then we're Ajahns. So listen to that, how you know, how you can feel more important, more proud of being an Ajahn, because that's a rather nice title. It means teacher, I'm a teacher. So some monks become obnoxious when they become Ajahns, because they kind of take it so personally. So these hierarchical structures are not for grasping, they're just conventions to use to reflect on the emptiness of thoughts, emotions, physical bodies, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, brain. because that's their true nature, they're impermanent. The word Ajahn is a Thai kind of expression for Acharya, which is a Pali word, a Sanskrit word. And then, like, some of us become Prakrus. That's even better than an Ajahn. And then we become Jalkuns. That's higher than a Prakru. You know, and then there's different levels of Jalkuns. And so, you know, if you take it personally, you can be a real pain in the neck. Because holding on to these titles, it's not the path, it's not wisdom, it's not letting go, it's grasping status in a conventional system. And that's not wisdom. Wisdom is very, you know, it's so well exemplified in just those two phrases, Sape Sankhara Anicca, all conditions are impermanent. That is not just a kind of philosophy, Buddhist philosophical statement, or theology, or a metaphysical ideal. It's a reality that we can see for ourselves through what we call bhavana or meditation, through observing. Try to find a condition that's permanent. The other encouragement is to observe space, because space is apparent here and now. So space is an element that we exist in all the time. If there was no space, how could we be here and now? But space isn't, you know, we can say this is a good space or a bad space, a big space or a small space. But space is, you know, everything's in space. The sun, moon, and stars, the whole universe is in space. So space is here and now, you can actually perceive it. But what you cannot perceive is consciousness. It's impossible to perceive consciousness, which is apparent here and now and timeless. It's Dhamma. And if there were no consciousness, there wouldn't be any space, because space emanates through consciousness, and forms arise in space. So that whole sequence of consciousness and space, and the four elements, earth, fire, water, and air, suddenly the whole thing becomes quite, even intellectually, it's superb paradigm that's worthy of reflection upon. So, you know, trying to perceive consciousness, because consciousness is the perceiving mechanism. It allows us to perceive space, to perceive forms. Space allows us to perceive forms. So in terms of a sequence that I found incredibly beautiful, just the 6 elements: consciousness, space, earth, fire, water, and air. Then suddenly the whole sense of the universe, the problems that we have in families and societies arise and cease. And we as people, we always want to solve the problems. We want answers to questions. We don't like to doubt. We don't like to be bored. We want a purpose and meaning to our life. What is the purpose of a human life? Does it have any meaning? Our intellectual questions, existential questions we ask ourselves. Is there a meaning to my life? Being a monk all these years, is it meaningful? And just that wanting to, is there a purpose for an ancient institution like Buddhist monasticism? Old religion, thousands of years old, does it really have any meaning or purpose in modern high-tech society? So listening to the mind, that purpose and meaning as a person, you realize that it doesn't make sense anymore. Because the opportunity we have as human beings to witness the way it is, to reflect on the way it is. All conditions are impermanent. All Dhamma is not personal, not a self. There's no kind of deity up in the sky, a god or goddess that created all this. We can imagine that. We can create all kinds of images of different forms for deities and gods. But they're still conditioned phenomena that we imagine. Imagination is a condition. Thinking is a condition. Is a sankhara, is a phenomenon. So consciousness then is suddenly just that word. The word is a word. Vijnana. Is consciousness through the senses is very impermanent. But consciousness itself, vijnanang anidasanang anandang sapado pabang, consciousness without feature, without end. And Dhamma are the same thing. Both words, but what is we take refuge in? Dhamma, is it a condition that we take refuge in? Something called Dhamma, what is it in terms of apparent here and now? What is the Dhamma? The vijnanang anidasanang anantang sapado pabang, consciousness without feature, without end, apparent here and now. And that we begin to realize, it's like what the Pali word bhajitang, to be realized individually through wisdom. So I offer this for this afternoon's reflection.